Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, and everybody else all across the world, welcome to the first ever 21st episode of the Screen and Pitch Project featuring your hosts, MGK and.
Yeah.
So, we are recording this in May 2026, 10th May 2026 to be precise. Arsenal just beat West Ham 1-0 by the skin of their teeth, 2 games away from winning their first Premier League title in 22 years. Champions League final, never won it in their history. But that's not what we're here to talk about. We're actually here to talk about a club that doesn't know trophy droughts like that, at least in our lifetime. We are talking about a club that likes to call itself more than a club that represents an entire movement for independence and was home to, in my opinion, the greatest player in history. We are going to draft our all time greatest Barcelona 11 today. Tayal, any thoughts on Mes Que Un Club or however you pronounce it? Yeah.
The jerseys, the club, the players, Ronaldinho when I was growing up, Messi later on. I, I don't think saying those two names is much of a spoiler because I don't think we're going to forget to draft them. But just the iconic nature of the club, the stadium, of everything with these jerseys, it's something that always sticks with you. And you can see why, for every football player, the dream is to play for one of these two clubs. Even though we root for other clubs, there's just some inherent draw in both Barcelona, who we're talking about now, and Madrid, who you never mention one without the other, I guess.
Yeah. Spoiler alert, we're going to talk about Real Madrid in our next episode. But I was also a Barcelona guy. Ronaldinho and then Thierry Henry went there. Messi started playing for them. And then Cristiano Ronaldo started playing for Real Madrid. So I was like, okay,
Good
you
stuff.
guys have made my life easy. And then there was another player. There's so many just amazing players who just played for Barcelona. Like we can name all of them, and then this is going to come into our teams. But before we get into drafting our teams, we have a sponsor for this episode. Introducing Lunger Games, an exclusive invite-only survival game for those with a net worth in the 9 figures. Participants must use their obscene wealth to provide food, clothing, and shelter to as many impoverished people as possible until they eliminate poverty, lose 90% of their net worth, or die trying. Failure to meet these targets will result in immediate freezing of all assets. The winner gets a certificate of achievement, a photo with Justin Langer, and gets to rule the world till the next edition. Lunger Games to ensure your hunger is no longer.
I love the Justin Langer throw in. I think Zoran Mamdani would approve of this.
Hey, I think we all need some more left wing politics in this world, but we're not going to get them. We're going to get our billionaire capitalist overlords, and we are going to like
I
it.
do like it.
And we
Yes.
like it. Please don't sack us.
Right?
Yeah, this is one of the more consequential rock, paper, scissors. Rock,
Rock,
paper,
paper, scissors,
scissors,
shoot.
shoot. Oh, damn.
Rock,
Rock,
paper,
paper,
scissors,
scissors,
shoot.
shoot. Oh, shit.
Okay.
My scissors cannot cut his rock. So, Tayal, are you going to go first or second?
I feel like in a lot of these drafts, going second is an advantage, and I feel jealous because usually you go second and I want to go second. But in this draft, I feel like I just have to go first. Like, I'm sorry, if there's an opportunity to draft this tiny human being who may or may not have taken HGH and then turned into the best player in the world, how can I not take it? So I will go first. And with the first overall pick, in a huge shocker, I will pick the greatest player of all time, Lionel Messi. And I will enjoy it. So his first contract was written on a paper napkin in Barcelona. And I think every renewal after then was kind of a no-brainer for the greatest player of at least our generation, probably the greatest player of all time, the most complete player I've ever seen. at least going forward. And someone who is just, I don't even know what to say because it's just so obvious that you draft Messi with the first overall pick. But to just talk about the record books a little bit and to think about everything that he's done at his time at Barcelona, from scoring 90 goals in a year to winning multiple Champions Leagues, multiple Premier Leagues, and being the perfect foil to Cristiano Ronaldo on the other side, delivering iconic moment after iconic moment, the free kicks, the goal against Getafe, I don't even know. There's just so many memories that are popping into my head that I'm kind of almost losing words
Yeah,
because he's had so many superlative moments. Some of the ridiculous assists and through balls that I can think of where he just finds a pass which no one else could see, dribbling through the entire defense, curling it, whether it's a free kick, whether it's just rounding the goalie. They all have just blurred together into just like a montage befitting the greatest player who we've ever seen play the game. And that, to me, is why it's a no-brainer to take Lionel Messi. I'm not sure where I'll play him, actually. That may evolve a little bit as the draft goes on. Right now, I'm just going to put him up top, and then we will see where he goes. I'll put him at right wing to start,
yeah,
but he may move as the draft goes along.
yeah. I mean, for me, Lionel Messi is the greatest player of all time. Like, if there is one that is going to be better than Messi, like I hope he comes around in my lifetime because Messi is just a freak. He is the greatest dribbler of all time, the greatest playmaker of all time, the greatest shooter of all time, and the greatest free kick taker of all time. Like it's just ridiculous, right? And I say this with a lot of respect to Ronaldo. The very fact that some people think that they can be compared is testament to how good he was. Because for me, from the first time I saw Messi and I saw peak Messi, I was just like, yeah, there's no contest. There's nobody better than Messi. There's nothing in the world that can stop this guy, right? Just ridiculous, right? He destroyed us a couple of times in the Champions League, and while I was sad, like it was hard to really feel too sad. It was just like, yeah, I mean, what are you going to do, right? Like, I mean, it's Lionel Messi. On his worst day, he could destroy the best team in the world, and it would just be completely normal for him. Um, just the greatest player of all time. There's like no doubt. Like even if he hadn't won that World Cup, I'd have been like, man, have you seen this guy play? He's the greatest of all time. The greatest of all time. And like if I had won the toss, I wanted to win the toss just so that I could get Messi. Because like in my opinion, he's so good that you instantly like basically won the draft. That's how good he is. Like it's just testament to how ridiculously good Lionel Messi is. Like because if hypothetically these two teams are going to start playing, my team would now just be like, okay, how do we stop Messi? And then we'll worry about the other players later. That's how the entire strategy of this team would be if they had to face Messi. So like that's just who he is. He's the greatest.
Yeah. So I remember going to Camp Nou and watching a Barcelona match, and Messi came off the bench, and just the second he got up off the bench, the way the energy in the crowd just changes completely. What was happening on the pitch became irrelevant. Everybody was just watching Messi warm up and react to him warming up while there's a football match with incredible players going on. Just
Yeah,
the magnetism that Messi has and his ability is just. There will be players who are drafted in this draft who are considered to be the best of their generation at a skill, and yet at most of those skills, Messi is as good or not better.
yeah.
And then he combines all of them together, which is just insane.
With elite decision making, like Messi
Yeah,
knows what to do when as well. Yeah, I mean, I could just keep talking about Messi, especially now that he's winding down his career. Um, Now, I'm going to pick this guy because one of the reasons I sort of became a Barcelona guy was also because this guy played for them and he is one of my all time favorite players. Just a wonderful player to watch. In my opinion, he's the greatest sort of midfielder I've ever watched because he could make that ball stick, beat people, feint. He looked like the slightest man on the pitch. He looked like someone you could kick to pieces, but he never ever got bullied off the ball. He had that fight in him. And while he didn't score too many goals, he came up with some clutch goals, including one that I think broke Tayal's heart at one point of time. Um, the man who won Spain their only World Cup, um, one of my favorite players of all time, El Illusionista, Andres Iniesta, is going to be in my midfield. Now, my second pick is going to be another like all-time favorite player of mine. Um, I think the one player who hit the heights of Thierry Henry in the Premier League in terms of just being an absolute force of nature who could just win games on his own. Um, 40 million and one is what we bid for this guy, and I was so upset because I was like, no, just go higher. Maybe we'll get him because who knows? That could have changed the course of history. But he was advised by Steven Gerrard to stay put because a bigger club than Arsenal will come in a while. He stayed put. He had the greatest individual season in Premier League history. And then he went to Barcelona to make some more history as part of one of the greatest attacking trios in history. Um, Absolute baller, a demon, an absolute demon, a guy I've spoken about in multiple episodes, multiple times. I love this guy, right? Like he would bite anyone and everyone if it meant that he could win the football game. Up front for me, it has to be Luis Suarez.
Two incredible picks. I mean, there were a lot of different directions to go into. I was considering one of these players, kind of surprised by the other, but no, not as a demerit to how good either of them are. Iniesta, so silky smooth. The ability to dribble to get through tight spaces, just absolutely insane. Didn't have like the raw numbers. I think he's very like Hazard-esque in that way, where the raw numbers aren't there, but you could see the way that the player could just control the game, dictate pace, never lose the ball, and just kind of calm things down whenever needed. And then could also score incredibly clutch goals. That ridiculous goal against Chelsea in the Champions League, where it just flies into the corner, he rips his shirt off, heartbreaking. But
Yeah,
respect one of those players, even though he breaks your heart, you still kind of respect him.
yeah,
Um, Suarez breaks your heart, you do not respect him, but you kind of admire him because he is just so ruthless, so efficient. I think arguably the only player to get to the conversation and the heights of where Ronaldo was at his peak at Madrid. I would say it was like Messi, Ronaldo, and then Suarez was almost into that tier.
yeah,
And just to say that he was almost into that tier shows how incredible he was.
yeah,
Um, I think doesn't have the same history, I guess, that Messi and Iniesta have, but that's just because they were there for so long. Suarez did put together a lot, I think 5 or 6 solid, very good
yeah, yeah, yeah,
seasons
something like that.
with Barcelona. And 2014-15 was just incredible. Just
Yeah,
still one of the, I think, best, maybe the greatest attack we've seen.
yeah,
Okay, with my next two picks, so I feel like I can't help myself here, and I kind of just have to do this. So I'm going to pair Messi with the guy who first kind of recognized his greatness with someone who also got a standing ovation at the Bernabeu. And to get a standing ovation as a Barcelona player at the Bernabeu shows how special you are. Someone who, again, I think maybe didn't have the longest track record just because of injuries, inconsistencies, and perhaps personal lifestyle. But on his day, reached peaks that I don't think anybody else has. And I would argue is maybe the only one who can who is in who's ahead of Messi and Iniesta as a dribbler, potentially, at least in terms of flair. Maybe not in
yeah.
terms of efficiency. But I will go for someone who makes I think anybody fall in love with football, and Ronaldinho as my left wing. And then my second pick. Now this is where there are a lot of different directions. I was thinking basically between two. One is, do I be more strategic about this pick, or do I just pick the players who I like the best? Um, I am going to just pick the players who I like the best, and then we'll figure it out. Hopefully, I don't get screwed for this. So I will pick the midfield complement to Andres Iniesta, the one of the most tactically fluid and aware players of his generation. Someone who has set up so many wonderful moves with Messi through the years. Someone who can just is the metronome, is kind of the prototype of a metronome. They're players who define a position, and he was one of them. And at center mid, I will take Xavi.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, like Ronaldinho is one of my all-time favorite players. Just a joy to watch. He wasn't there for a very long time, but he was there for a good time. And when I was getting into football, he was the guy. Like everyone, it didn't matter whom you supported, everyone loved Ronaldinho because he was just so much fun to watch. Um, the samba flair, right? Like for me, the most quintessential Brazilian player I've ever seen. Like, uh, just like wonderful to watch at his peak. Obviously, didn't have the longevity or the discipline that Messi or Ronaldo did. But man, that peak was just insanely fun, insanely glorious, and just a joy to watch. Like Xavi was, um, in some corners of the world, he'd be called the Spanish Joe Allen. I think in at least our generation, a player just most wedded to a certain style of football in our imaginations. You think Xavi, you think tiki taka, orchestrating death by a thousand cuts through passing, movement, relentless press resistance. You couldn't press Barcelona because Xavi and Iniesta they would run circles around you. Like they look like regular guys. They didn't look like guys who were hitting the gym. And they would just run circles around these people. Xavi would be playing like 150 passes a game like it was nothing. Um, like you watch Xavi, you'll see the entire game unfold in front of you. And like I think he was someone I started appreciating a lot more towards the latter half of his peak and his career because that's when I started really understanding football a lot more. Like so, yeah, two great picks. Um, you know, just like these are all like all-time great players. This like legit like all-star cast that we're picking from. So there's no bad pick. Um, and what I'm going to do is pick, I think, probably the second most quintessential Brazilian flair player uh, that I can think of. I think again, like similar story to Ronaldinho in the sense that you know, I think if he was a little bit more driven, the heights he could have hit were like crazy. The most expensive transfer of all time. He is somewhat underrated now when you look back, just because the expectation on him was so high because he was so good, and he still was one of the top five footballers in the world for a long period of time. And I think it has to be said that he just got kicked from pillar to post brutally, right? Like throughout his career, the kind of tackles that this guy faced, almost no one else did, and then he'd get up and then do the most outrageous skill anyway. I think in terms of pure skills and like the street footballer style of just humiliating your opponent, probably one of the most consistently top tier players I've ever seen. It's Neymar on my left wing. So yeah, I mean, 2/3 of the MSN trio is now in my team. The main man isn't. um, yeah. So I said about Xavi that you watch Xavi, you'll see the whole game, and they were unpressable. It was a midfield trio, um, and this guy was genuinely one of those players where okay, you really need to start understanding football at a deeper level to appreciate what this guy does. Um, the king of interceptions, the king of being utterly press resistant. Like you could not get the ball off this guy. Um, Sometimes could be physically overrun, but he was just so intelligent and so clever at taking the ball off his defenders and getting it up front. Um, One of the cleverest players of all time. It's a bit of a pity that one of his more iconic moments is the little peekaboo during the Inter Milan or whichever game it was. But like man, like I love the dark arts. I think it's totally fine. Sergio Busquets is sitting at the base of my midfield.
Yeah, I think two iconic players, two no brainers. Again, players just who define their position to some extent. Neymar, I completely agree, gets an unfair reputation because of what he had to go through, the pressure on him. I think you could even see during the World Cups, especially the amount of pressure all of Brazil had for him to perform, and he didn't quite have the supporting cast that like R9 Ronaldo had before him or Pele had before him. So it was really on his head. It reminds me of like Sachin in the 90s as an
Yeah.
Indian cricket fan. But man, he it felt like he played to humiliate his opponents. I think Ronaldinho, there was a bit more joy. I'm just trying this out to have fun. But Neymar was like, I want to beat you in the most humiliating way possible. And he could do it. He could do things that nobody else would even attempt. And just all out, incredibly fun player to watch. From the goal he scored before coming to Barcelona and just all the hype that was around it, to then living up to it and performing again and again, being a pivotal part of a lot of iconic Barcelona moments, including like the comebacks. He's just been he's I think now almost underrated for the club. Busquets, yeah, I think he's just a player who ties everything together, who is needed for every team, and will often be ignored. But as soon as he's not there, everything starts to fall apart. I think we saw something similar this year with Rodri at City, where you, it's not like the player does everything. It is, I mean, the player does do a lot, but when you don't have that defensive midfielder kind of holding the game together, breaking up counters, the rest of the pieces don't quite fit together as seamlessly as they do otherwise. And Busquets was that guy, intercepting everything, stopping counters, and then connecting everything, never losing the ball in vulnerable positions, and allowing everyone else to play up. So two great picks there. So
Yeah.
I, for my what? Why are you smiling?
No, no, no. I was just like, oh, like it's your turn. I
Yeah.
wonder what havoc you're gonna wreak.
So I mean, I feel like there's a way to completely ruin this draft, but I'm not going to do it. Just because I don't like there are more fun players to pick. Um, but at center back, I will go for I think one of my favorite center backs to watch just because of the passion and the drive and the fact that you felt like he would give up his pinky finger to win a random game on a Wednesday night against Getafe. Um, just someone who put his heart and soul on the line. He played an entire match with a dislocated elbow and just acted like it was normal. As someone who has dislocated their elbow, it is not normal. Um, just someone who really would live and die for the badge. Um, Maybe not the most athletically dominant or physically imposing center back of his generation, but someone who you know would give every ounce of fight required. And I'm going with Carlos Puyol, who would also probably be the captain of the team.
Yeah, yeah. Easy pick for captain.
For my second pick, uh, just because maybe my team is lacking skills with Messi and Ronaldinho, and we need another skillful player, let's pick maybe the most skillful right back in the history of football. Someone who has linked up and assisted so many goals for Messi and was his perfect counterpart on the right side. Someone who really, I think, gets on because of the players he was around. I think people know but don't fully appreciate how absurdly talented he was. Maybe the greatest right back since 2000 overall. I think he's definitely got a good argument for it. I'm going to go with Dani Alves.
Yeah, I was smiling because I was like, oh shit. I hope he doesn't pick Dani Alves. And he picked Dani Alves. So, it is what it is. Um, yeah, I think the best right back that I've seen possibly. Dani Alves was a baller, man. Like an absolute genius on the ball. Um, I mean, if you think about it, like Brazil had Marcelo and Dani Alves as their fullbacks for a while, which is like ridiculous. Um, yeah, just an absolute like shoe in for the right back position. And I think post 2000s, I think there's a bit of a dearth there. Amazing pick. Carlos Puyol is such a likable, tough guy. Like, I remember there was a game where, I think I forgot whom, but some of the younger Barcelona players were doing like little dance, and he comes and he scolds them and he chides them, and he's like, okay, we have a game to play. I know you scored a goal and you're like all happy, but like, let's go play. And he had this sense of, like, he was like this fair but strong centre back who would, like you said, put his body on the line to to win any and every game. I'm going to pick, I think, Puyol's most famous and recognizable partner as my first pick. Man United legend, Gerard Piqué. I think, he's not always made the best decisions like cheating on Shakira, but on the pitch, you could very rarely say that because Piqué was an absolute dream of a centre back. I think um, for Premier League watchers, he was like the Rio Ferdinand, but Spanish and like probably better on the ball. Part of like an all-conquering Barcelona side that doesn't get enough credit for its defense just because their attack was so mesmerizing. But they wouldn't concede goals. They would rarely concede chances because, yes, they'd keep the ball, but they were also very good at snuffing it out when danger arose. And PK was a big part of that. Um, for my next pick, I'm actually gonna, round out my midfield. Um, when Xavi retired, everyone was like, "Oh, what's gonna happen?" And then this guy came from Sevilla, and he was part of second wave of the great Barcelona era, and he didn't look out of place at all in that midfield. A bit less La Masia-y and a little bit more of a dynamo who just would get forward, score a few goals. Was part of the golden generation of Croatia as well. Ivan Rakitic is my next pick, and he finishes my midfield.
Yeah, Piqué was the perfect counterpart to Carlos Puyol. I mean, everything that Carlos Puyol was, tough, gritty, unsexy, Piqué was the polar opposite. Piqué had like the size and presence of a classic center back, could score some great goals, had a great passing range, could connect up to attack, was just a fantastic defender, and total stalwart. When I thought about breaking the draft, I thought that was the move, was to take Puyol and Gerard Piqué as the two center backs, just because it's the biggest drop off. Like
Yeah,
it is really hard to.
yeah,
The two of them were there for so long as well in the 2000s, and so consistently at the top of their game, that it would have been tough without getting at least one of them.
yeah,
Rakitic, I love.
yeah.
Even oh god,
No, no, sorry. I was just going to say
yeah.
I would have preferred you picking Puyol and PK over Danny Alves,
Oh,
but
Danny
I'll
Alves,
take it.
yeah. But yeah, I think Rakitic, I felt, was perpetually underrated in terms of how much he contributed. Even for the Croatia World Cup run, I thought he was almost as good as Modric. He was fantastic during that whole run, and it was kind of what allowed Croatia to get to the final, was having both Modric and Rakitic. And again, Rakitic has scored so many crucial goals for Barcelona, just going up forward, but also being a very solid midfielder. I think he scored in the 2015 finals. Just an incredible kind of continuation after Xavi. Okay, for my next pick, so there's, I mean, an obvious person who I want to pick, but since I don't think you're going to pick him with your setup, but you may do something funny and pick him. So just to be safe, I am going to draft one of my favorite players, someone who is a legend for, I think, multiple clubs. Every club who's had him has, I think, won with him and felt his contributions. One of the greatest African players of all time. Just a complete dynamo, ruthless goal scorer, and I think someone who will tie the attack in perfectly. Uh, and someone who also played for my club. I will pick Samuel Eto'o. Just a absolute. Even though he didn't have the stature of like a massive hulking striker, he had the presence of a massive hulking striker in terms of just how ruthless he was, how good of a goal scorer he was, how he could be kind of everywhere you needed him to be, just fantastic finisher, could score some wonder goals, was always in the right position. Um, all of the contributions he's made for the multiple clubs he played, from the treble with Milan to two Champions League with Barca, just a legend in all rights, and I think will perfectly complement Messi, Ronaldinho, and Xavi. It just sounds absurd to have all of them together.
Yeah.
Okay. My second pick, and this was the one I was thinking about more. Do I go? It's kind of interesting how few of the current Barcelona players we picked. So I think I will go for basically 50-50 between two players. Okay, forget it. So I'll go for a current Barcelona player, someone who's kind of held the midfield together, and I think will complement Xavi quite well. He can go forward, he can go back. A Dutch dynamo, I think someone who carries on the tradition of strong Dutch players. Playing for Barcelona, I'll put in Frankie de Jong. Nice, solid, I think, partner to Xavi. He's been part of this, I would say, relatively down era for Barcelona compared to the heights they were at with Messi. But I think he's been a strong soldier for the club and will run up the midfield well.
Yeah, I mean, two great picks. Samuel Eto'o is, I think, one of the more underrated players in history. I think he absolutely belongs in an all-time great striker conversation, but somehow just doesn't land there. I think it's also because he played in an era of freak strikers. Like when you play in an era where you have Luis Suarez just after you, Thierry Henry alongside you, and Ronaldo Nazario preceding you, you being an old school striker kind of just takes away from your legacy a little bit. But like one of the most clutch strikers, like proper striker, who could also do like a job on the right wing, which he did, because that's when Messi really got unleashed. The first iteration of the great Barcelona era that we grew up with was when Messi started playing false nine and Samuel Eto'o started playing on the right wing to accommodate that, and he didn't complain and he put up a very good shift there. Um, Again, I think now that it basically, the first great attacking trio that we saw with Barcelona was actually Eto'o, Henry, and Messi, where they scored 100 goals between them. Um, and I think Eto'o scored the most of those three at that point of time. Which seems absurd to say when you have Messi in the team, but that's just how it was. Um, Amazing player, right? And Frankie De Jong, um, I think he's just basically, when that Ajax team which got to the semis of the 2018, I think, Champions League, the Champions League, I think he's the jewel of that team. He's continued to maintain and hit those heights, and he's gone from strength to strength to the point where even when Barcelona still have, like, the new La Masia jewels that they love, Frankie De Jong is an integral part of that midfield and has been for the better part of at least half a decade now. I think injuries are the only thing that really, you know, sort of hold him back from being in like the conversation for best midfielders in the world even today. Great player, right? Um, yeah, I like just like two great picks. Um, I'm actually now gonna. I know there are several directions in which I can go, and I put my hand on my head when you started talking about Eto, because I thought you were going in a different direction. Um, but first, what I shall do is pick, I think, another position where there's a bit of a drop off. Uh, at left back, I'm going to pick Jordi Alba, because for like a decade, another La Masia, product who just held down that spot for a decade. Um, Obviously, I think he was the left back who Gareth Bale Copa del Rey, if I'm not mistaken. And it's testament to how fast Bale is, because Jordi Alba is fast. Like, this is a rapid player and he was just such a great like left back, right? I mean, he didn't have the skill set or the outrageous skill set of a Marcelo or a Dani Alves, but he was kind of like the Carvajal of Barcelona, where he was just there. La Masia product, knew what it meant to play for the club. High quality option on the left. Nailed down that position for years. You didn't have to worry about it because Jordi Alba was around. Um, yeah, just a great player. I'm gonna hold off on my wildcard pick for a bit, because I think one of the things I can do is pick this guy as a bit of an insurance policy. Um, One of the more high quality defenders in world football today. He has this weird thing where I think, is just like addicted to running, so he just runs anywhere and everywhere. There was this recent trend of not trend, like it was like a video of him like running in New York in the rain that just went viral. Um, I just like him because at one point he just was like, I think, making fun of the fact that either, I don't remember, it was either Arsenal or Chelsea that were rumored to sign him, and he was just like laughing and like saying no to these rumors on Twitter or Instagram or whatever. Which, I mean, obviously, if you're a fan of that club, is not very, it's not very encouraging, but you could appreciate the banter. So for now, we can put him at right back. It's Jules Koundé. Yeah, and I think those are my two picks. No, yeah.
Nice. Yeah, I think Jordi Alba, I screwed up. He probably should have been my previous pick. Such a good left back. Was there for over a decade. Incredibly fast, incredibly skilled. Great link up again with Messi. It's continued on in the MLS. Just an absolute stalwart for one of the greatest teams, maybe the greatest team in club football history. And Jules Koundé, again, okay, some of the modern Barca players are finally making it into the team. I think Koundé easily super versatile as both a center back and right back. Someone who just puts in a shift. Very, very, I think, strong physical, like exactly what you want in a defender. And someone who he just ties things together well for a team where you know he's not going to mess things up too badly, and you know he's going to give 110% chasing everyone down. Okay, now what do I do? Okay, so I am a bit confused between do I just go ahead and do this or not? Okay. I think I'm going to do this. So I will pick. I'm not 100% sure if he will stay in this position, but to just round out my most physical defense possible, I'm going to pick Javier Mascherano as my second center back. Um, Someone who can play DM too, so it gives me a bit of versatility in that way. Um, I'm just gonna
Yeah.
so someone who will give me a bit more versatility because I can move him to a DM if I want to change things around. Again, someone who just had such a strong presence on the field, even though not the fastest, so maybe pace may be a bit of an issue for my defense, but you know that they are going to put their heart and soul on the line for the entire game. Someone who both for Barca and then for Argentina was just a crucial linchpin in terms of just that defensive stability, that defensive rigidity that you want. Um, yeah, so I'm just doubling down on leadership and toughness at the back line. And then for my next pick, I'm going to do something maybe a bit controversial. I'm going to pick the other kind of fundamental element to the greatest team of all time. I'm going to pick my manager in Pep Guardiola. Just with the team that I've set up, I think it's the perfect Pep team. So it's a perfect Pep team, kind of someone who completely transformed football, and this was his first stage where it felt like, okay, he's got to up the difficulty level because he just made football look too easy with the squad. I think the squad that's being built fits his style perfectly. You have the metronome, the tiki-taka football. You have just absolute one-on-one winners, and you have Eto to tie everything together. Uh, I don't know what is there to say about Pep anymore. The most successful manager probably of our lifetime. Now, I think he's passing Sir Alex in terms of just overall success. You can argue with how the resources each of them had and how flexible one had to be versus the other. But just in terms of raw success, I think Pep has now reached that level. Um, and yeah, this was his initial kind of prove it after being a player at Barcelona, and he just changed the way football is played.
I mean, two great picks. I was hoping to get Guardiola Pepe Peps in my next round so that you would have the unique opportunity to pick both Xavi as a player and a manager.
And as a manager, yeah,
But unfortunately, that was not to be. Um, like Mascherano. So here's the thing with Mascherano when he went from Liverpool to Barcelona. I think a lot of us, including myself, we were like, "Oh, where's he going to play? Like, how's he going to play?" And then he became like a mainstay centre back after Puyol retired or was winding down, and the level didn't drop because he was just that good. Not the tallest or the fastest, but one of the most dogged, rugged fighters you would ever see on a football pitch. Um, Great player, right? Like, uh, just a fantastic player. I think he's Argentina's most capped player.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's either
And he
him or
was crucial
Belletti.
even in his 30s for the World Cup.
Oh yeah. I mean, this guy is a serious player. Um, yeah, Pep Guardiola. Actually, yeah, I was shaking my head at that point of time, but then I sort of thought about it and I was like, no, I think Pep Guardiola is not never going to be the greatest Premier League manager. That was Sir Alex Ferguson, but his entire body of work, yeah, I think. Yeah, it's tough. I think you could argue that he's probably better. I know people like to say that, oh, he's always managed super clubs, but the whole point of Pep Guardiola was, oh, here is a super manager for your super club. Um, and at Barcelona, he didn't have like tons of money to spend all the time. Like he had resources, but his first iteration of Barcelona was La Masia heavy, and I think arguably his greatest creation was that team. That team was ridiculous, and I mean the concept of the false nine with Messi. Um, like we saw other players play it, but the whole concept and moving him in and just like completely dominating football um, to the point that every single team across the world started trying to play the Barcelona way, the Spain way. I mean, Spain won 2 Euros in the World Cup. Like in 4 years, they won three of the toughest international trophies to win because of the Barcelona model. Um, Barcelona won like pretty much. They would have won like three Champions Leagues in a row had it not been for Jose and Inter. Um, like we're talking about like heights that haven't been seen before, will probably not be seen later.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're ridiculous. Guardiola, one of the all-time great managers. Um,
Yeah,
so
2010. Actually, yeah, if you look at it, 2010, Inter had to have like a crazy win. And then
yeah,
2012, Chelsea had to have an absurd kind of against the odds win. Otherwise, four Champions Leagues in a row wouldn't have been too crazy.
yeah, yeah. And then Mourinho had to have a ridiculous season to beat
Yeah.
Barcelona in that fourth league campaign, La Liga campaign. Like Liverpool finished second with 97 points. We finished second with 89 points. Like, are you serious, bro? Guardiola is just a terrifying winning machine. So yeah, so at a certain point in the draft, I'd put my hands on my head when you were picking this African player. Um, I'm going to pick this African player because he is, in my opinion, one of the greatest players I've ever seen. Um, the man was so good. He was a title winning uh, DM, AM, and even striker at times in the Premier League. But before all of that, he was a title winning, a treble winning centre back, a starting treble winning centre back for Barcelona. Um, a man mountain, a man who would do whatever you wanted him to do and whatever he wanted to do as long as you remembered his birthday. Yaya Toure is sitting in the center of my defense. I know he doesn't have the longevity of other Barcelona greats, but in terms of player quality, like, are you going to deny me Yaya Toure? I don't think so. Um, and my second pick, just to make sure that you don't do anything crazy and ruin my draft, um, it's Yamin. It's Lamine Yamal, not Yamin Lamal. I know everyone compares him to Messi, but he just looks like a left-footed Neymar. He looks and plays exactly like a left-footed Neymar. So I really appreciate the symmetry. And man, this kid, like, what outrageous skill, what outrageous confidence. I hope like he's protected and he keeps his focus and he doesn't, overindulge in the party lifestyle. Um, but just like to be like the the Neymar of Spain now, like where a lot of their hopes and dreams rest on you, and to wear that burden with almost like an ease that Neymar didn't always quite have. Man, just an absolute baller. And again, like, um, it's a little unfair that you have Messi all this time and then he leaves and suddenly this guy comes like within barely a year or two. but also as a football fan, I'm not complaining to watch, hopefully, all-time greatness just blossom in front of my eyes again.
Oh yeah, wonderful picks. Yaya Toure could literally. I think maybe a team of 11 Yaya Toures beats a team of 11 anything else. I think we've had that discussion before, and
Yeah,
it still holds through.
yeah,
Just an absolute man mountain who could do anything on a football pitch. And yeah, to think back that he started off as a center back and then was one of the most ruthless finishers as an attacking midfielder a couple of years later is just absurd to think about. Yamal is, yeah, he is, I think, Spain's hope, football's hope in some ways, just because he's just so magnetic to watch. I think he has like these finishes which do look Messi-esque, but then the rest of the package is much more Neymar-esque. It's just I think the curling left-footed finishes, just everybody just automatically connects it to Messi. But I agree, the rest of the game is much more Neymar. He doesn't have like the vision of Messi, even though he has pulled off some absurd outside the foot
yeah,
crosses
yeah,
and like passes. Actually, I take the vision part back
yeah,
because
yeah, yeah. His
I think he's
vision is
just
absurd.
evolving. Yeah,
Yeah,
it is absurd. Um, it's and yeah, I think once Barca has the right team around him, which it's getting there almost, we're going to see him raise to even higher heights uh, very soon. Okay, so that leaves three positions for me. Left back, who I guess I can draft last since you all, I don't think you're going to take left back for goalie.
yeah,
Um, Goalie, I think there are two good options. So pretty easy. I'll go for the old school option to continue the theme and Victor Valdez as
yeah,
my goalie. Um, can't really go wrong. I never felt like he was like absolutely uh, like top tier goalie, but he was right there. So he may not have been the absolute number one goalie in the world, but he was always in the conversation and a core part of the Barca team. Did his job, very few errors. I just remember Victor Valdez being at the back. I never felt like I was completely blown away by him, but he always was kind of a good goalie for the best team in the world.
yeah,
And if he wasn't, it would have stood out more. The fact that he didn't stand out, I think, is a compliment in a way.
yeah,
Now, for my last midfield position, in terms of someone who complements Xavi and Frankie de Jong, I do think, do you go for more defensive solidity, um, or do I go for a bit more just attacking talent? There is one more player who I really liked, but I think he, because his career ended, or his Barca career ended in I think 2002, 2003.
mm-hmm.
I'm not drafting him. He was actually my favorite player, or like second favorite player when I was a kid after Gianfranco
If he
Zola.
played in the 2000s, I think it's fine. Like,
Is
in,
it fine? Okay.
yeah, I'm not gonna
So
object. Yeah,
so we're going to then have an absurdly attacking lineup, and I'm going to move Xavi, and at Cam I'm putting in Rivaldo.
yeah. So, I, fun fact: he was one of my favorite players when I started watching football as well. Because at the 2002 World Cup,
Yeah, he
I
was
loved
so good.
Rivaldo. I was just like,
He
man, this
was
guy is
so good.
so good. Yeah, sorry.
Ronaldo was scoring all the goals, but Rivaldo was so good and
Yeah,
so important to that team. I loved him at Barcelona. He scored one of the most iconic bicycle kick goals as well for Barcelona. I think the year it should be either in 2000 or 2001.
yeah,
So this was right when I had started watching football, and I was just like, "Who is this magician with his left foot?" I
yeah,
had no idea that other magicians with their left foot would soon play for Barcelona. But I do think the early 2000s team, he was the best player. He was fantastic to watch. Didn't have much of a right foot. Kind of got overshadowed by more, I would say, just visually appealing players who did more with the ball, especially being Brazilian. But I think in terms of his raw effectiveness, he was right up there with everybody else. So I'm picking Rivaldo. Pep will figure it out. He can move things around and I think Rivaldo was a lot more industrial than Neymar or Ronaldinho as an attacking Brazilian player. So he did put in more of a shift for the team.
yeah,
Oh yeah, those are my two picks. Sorry.
yeah. Dude, Rivaldo was going to be my pick, but it was between him and Yamal for me. So, like,
Uh,
kudos. Like, I am so happy he got into at least one of our 11s.
uh,
Because, I mean, I didn't watch him at Barcelona, but that World Cup, when I was coming off the World Cup, if you asked me who my favorite player is, I would have been like Rivaldo. And I couldn't really explain why, but I was just like, there's something about him that makes him feel very real. And then I've gone back and watched highlights, and like he's won like a Ballon d'Or, and he's like a Barcelona legend. So kudos. Like it was between him and Yamal for me. I was just like, look, I've watched Yamal, so let's go with Yamal. And I think I'm going to continue this theme of players who were being overshadowed because they just so happened to share the same team with all-time greats, or just like absolute demons. And it's the same with the goalkeeper I'm going to pick, right? He's not really a German stalwart because he basically existed in the era of, in my opinion, the greatest goalkeeper of all time, because he changed the way goalkeepers play, and he's still the best at playing that way. Separate off topic, Manuel Neuer, crazy legend. Um, Mats Andre Ter Stegen, or Mats as his abbreviation quite conveniently rounds out to. I think as a shot stopper, probably better than Valdez. Probably a notch below him, maybe in terms of just playing out from the back again, like really good at it. So yeah, I think overshadowed heroes are picks which are rounding off the team. And then for my manager, I think it's fairly obvious it has to be the guy who sort of managed MSN, won a Champions League with them, Luis Enrique, right? Lucho Enrique. Um, I think he played for Barcelona till the 2000s or something. Also, did you know that he played for both Real Madrid and Barcelona?
oh damn! No, I didn't
Yeah,
know. I
yeah,
thought
yeah,
he
yeah,
just
yeah.
played for Barcelona. Okay,
No, no.
wow.
So he did the Figo, but the reverse. Like,
Oh damn!
so okay. So he could have actually possibly been in our teams because he played for Barcelona from 1996 to 2004, which is
Oh
very recent. Yeah.
yeah,
So
wow.
yeah. Um, I'm looking at his numbers on Wikipedia right now. I think his first 3-4 seasons look pretty elite, and then after that, I mean, like for a goal scoring winger, he hit double digits for like 7 consecutive seasons for them. So like, hey, you know,
Not bad.
can't
Yeah,
knock that. Yeah, but
especially back then.
yeah, like that's solid, man. That's great. Yeah, but I mean, Lucho Enrique is not making it into my onto the pitch for me, but he is going to be our coach, and hopefully he gets this attack buzzing like he has with MSN and with PSG. Um, yeah, I think that concludes our draft, I guess.
Yeah, I think two very good picks. I mean, it's a no-brainer that if Pep's gone, that Enrique is the other manager. But he didn't get the same credit that Pep got
Yeah,
globally, just because it was like, oh, like it was already a proven model. But then to turn around and do what he's done with PSG, I know it's a very different league, but at least in the Champions League,
yeah,
shows how good he is as a manager and how he's kind of like changing tactics even now with just how dominant like PSG's fullbacks are and how he's kind of changed, uh, brought a new different style that works to football.
yeah,
And then Ter Stegen, I mean, both Ter Stegen and Valdez, like elite goalkeepers who are just right below the absolute elite, and in their national teams have to face were up against the absolute elite and best in the world. So no, I mean, again, I think two very solid picks here.
yeah. Cool, guys. That's our all-time Barcelona 11 post 2000. I think we need to call this out at the start because otherwise, if you guys were like, "Oh, how do you miss Rijkaard, Cruyff, Koeman, and all that?"
Yeah.
Because we didn't watch them. So as much as they are probably going to walk into these teams, can't really say anything about people we haven't watched. I think your team wins because you have Messi. Like, but
Is
otherwise, I
there
think it's
anybody? Yeah.
yeah. Sorry,
Is
go
there
on.
anyone who you think should have been drafted or who's like right on the cut?
Yeah, David Villa, I think was very close.
Yeah, exactly.
Um,
Yeah.
I like. I think just because stylistically, I just like him more. I would have gone with Villa over Eto, but that's just because I just think David Villa is awesome. Pedro is a decent shout. I think he's just
Yeah.
because he's industrial and he's just like workmanlike, and you have just so many maverick, outstanding wingers in the post 2000s Barcelona era. He just didn't make it. Um,
Oh wait,
can
I
you
still
think?
have my left back, by the way.
Oh, you still have your left back. I'm sorry,
Yeah.
guys. False alarm. Please go ahead.
Okay. So my left back, the only other left back for Barcelona that I have solid memories of, who also had a very tumultuous injury and overcame great odds. I will pick Eric Abidal to round out the team.
Yeah.
Just really need a defensive left back here, someone who will do his shift. And unfortunately, Jordi Alba took up so many years at Barcelona that there aren't that many other left back options who got to play. But Abidal was a very solid left back before he before he had a liver tumor.
Yeah.
Um, but then I think he's overcome that and is doing well. But someone who I'm quite happy to round out the team with.
Yeah. Super solid. Like, no complaints, no nonsense. Left back. My fondest memory of Eric Abidal is I don't know if you even know this because it might be a very Arsenal thing. Do you remember Alex Song?
Yeah, of course.
So he went from Arsenal to Barcelona, which was like shocking for all of us because we're like, yeah, we know he's good, but like he's just going to warm the bench, and I think even he knew that. He was just like, yeah, I'm just going to go chill there, and they win a trophy there. Of course they do. And Abidal's just back from his liver tumor surgery or whatever. Um, and Xavi walks to him, or the captain, whoever it is, Puyol or Xavi, starts walking towards Abidal with the trophy to give it to him first to lift it. And Song comes forward because he's right next to Abidal. So he thinks like, oh, I'm going to get the honor first. And he comes forward with this like look of joy in his face. And then he just like realizes what's happening and he quietly just melts into the background and he stops smiling while they give it to Abidal. And like it was like one of those things that just went viral. And it was like, if you know like the kind of guy Song was in Arsenal, you're like, yeah, that's the most dopey,
That's
lovable
what you
Song
do.
thing to do.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, like shout out to Eric Abidal for giving me like a really good laugh, and like shout out because he came back from the tumor and won like a few trophies, right? So yeah, I guess guys, that's our list. Not our list, our drafted teams. Two, like I must say, like out of all the drafts we've done, these are like two like absolute baller 11s. Like holy shit, right? Like you put these teams up against anybody and they'd give them a game.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I mean, but like I said, like whoever got Messi won because it's Messi. Um, I wouldn't say the same with Real Madrid. I don't think
Yeah,
Ronaldo. Yeah,
let's see. Okay.
and that is why, guys. If you ask me who's better between Ronaldo and Messi, this is why Messi's streets ahead of Ronaldo. Anyway, that's our all-time Barcelona draft. Have a great rest of day, guys. I guess signing
Yeah.
off.
Peace.
Yeah.